Hello, very good. Welcome to the channel. I am the last reviewer, and today we are going to talk about the movie titled Mili, an Indian suspense and survival movie that was released in 2022 but is available on Netflix. This movie is directed by Mathukutty Xavier and stars Jahnvi Kapoor. And what is the movie Mili about? Mili is a survival thriller that follows the story of, obviously, the protagonist named Mili Naudial, a young dreamer and hardworking woman who lives in a small town in India. Mili takes care of her father and works in a fast food restaurant. However, one day, due to a series of accidents, Mili gets trapped in the restaurant freezer after finishing her shift without anyone noticing. From that moment on, his fight to survive the low temperatures below zero and by. Find a way to escape and get out of that freezer before it's too late. The film is an adaptation of Helen, a successful Malayan thriller that was also directed by the same director who directs this Mili Mathukutty. Xavier in Mili Xavier brings this story back to indie audiences with a slightly different approach, some cultural adaptations, and a more cinematic touch. And now I'm going to talk to you about the most positive aspects it has. This indie version of Mili, without a doubt one of the most outstanding aspects of the film, is without a doubt Jahnvi Kapoor's interpretation. I don't understand why this actress like Anand and Pandey has a huge mania for them in India. Here as Mili, the truth is that she does a great role and you can tell that she also has growth as an actress. From his first films to his last on this occasion in Mili, the film throws it directly on his shoulders as he is able to convey emotions. Intense and his resistance in a role that includes a lot of physical strength. From the beginning, we are shown Mili as an everyday person with her dreams and struggles, which makes her on the part of the viewer very easy to understand and especially to sympathize with. And when Mili gets trapped in the freezer, Kapoor takes her performance to the next level. Every moment he fights the cold, he tries to survive the cold, hunger, and his own exhaustion. It totally feels authentic and heartbreaking. Jahnvi Kapoor's performance to me is completely convincing and manages to convey the fear, desperation, and willpower to escape that freezer and the need to live. Obviously, and the truth is, that's what I'm saying. This role of Emily was a big step forward for Jahnvi Kapoor's career, who shows, as I said, her evolution as an actress and her ability to play characters with depth. She is no longer, as she was at first, the pretty girl. He was next to the protagonist, but he can now play a leading role and carry the film, as I said, under his shoulders. Another key point of the film, its cinematography and its sound design. The cinematography of the film really manages to capture the claustrophobia and the isolation of space in the freezer. The close shots, shadows, and use of dim lighting create an atmosphere of constant tension and makes the viewer feel like they are also attracted. Trapped next to the main character, facing the cold in desperation to survive, the sound design is also a strong point, as it reinforces the atmosphere of the character's isolation and suffering. The constant sound of the freezer, the buzzing, the trembling of the fans, also Mili's gasping breath add an extra layer of realism to the film. This choice of sound reinforces the viewer's immersion in the experience of Mili making. Let every second in the freezer be more and more tense and desperate. Xavier uses the sound of the image to push us to the emotional limit. Along with the character Mathukutty, Xavier directs Emily with an approach that balances both the suspense and emotionality of the story. It is true that it has a minimalist style focused on realism and is effective for a survival narrative. In this case, it is clear that the director had already explored this genre in the version. Original by Mili. Helen, who was Malayan and seems well versed in the visual language needed to convey the crudeness of an extreme situation. In addition, Xavier introduces family and cultural elements that try to give the film an extra dimension, such as Mili's relationship with her father. While this tries to delve into the character and make us care even more about this Mili character, it's true that at some points it feels a bit disconnected from the pace of suspense. What do you expect from a story like this? Not a girl who gets locked in a freezer. But like everything, also obviously Mili has her weaknesses. First of all, some of the family subplots, such as Mili's relationship with her father, as I've commented before, while providing some emotionality, end up diverting the viewer's attention, and most importantly, the central conflict in a survival film like this every second. It is important to maintain the tension, and these moments sometimes break the pace of the narrative. Another point that fails to wish for is the development of the secondary characters, especially the police officers and some authority figures. Since in Helen it is true that in the original film there was criticism or an attempt to criticize religion, since Mili was Muslim and the boyfriend was Christian, and that was the controversy that the film had. Here Not Here being an indie film, because obviously we are going to criticize. Well, what is always criticized lately in these films is like the police force, because it is quite corrupt, and we have a kind of antagonist in a police officer from a central that physically goes from helping Mili, and that's where the director focuses on making a critique of the police force. And another thing I have to criticize is the music, as it seems to be pretty invasive. I mean, there are no songs as such like Bollywood debut in this film, but it is true that there are moments that are completely left over. That there's a moment, for example, where Mili is trying to survive in the freezer and all of a sudden a super slow song starts that you only hear the song and the singer's voice singing survives, and it's like a little, it totally distracts me. I mean, if they had removed all those little songs stuck in there with shoes like "Come on, go Mili, you can," but "Delighted," surely, that if they had removed that, it would have gained a lot more tension since everything else works properly, but all it does is carry those tense moments from the movie. I think without a doubt the most negative point is that invasive music that they try to shove into you the whole time during the movie. All in all, to sum it up, Mili is a film that delivers a gritty and gripping survival experience with an outstanding performance, as I said, by Jahnvi Kapoor, and a visual and sound environment that completely immerses you. In the story, although I have already said there are some elements that do not work, such as the family subplots with the father and the groom, and that whole thing too. A bit the shoe-wearing villain that is the cop and limits the impact of the film quite a bit. But Mili is still a movie, a pretty interesting survival thriller that is worth watching and that you have available on Netflix. If you like thrillers and want to see Jahnvi Kapoor in a challenging role, Mili is a pretty interesting choice, so nothing. Thank you for watching this video, so that's it. If you have seen Mili, leave your opinion in the comments box, subscribe, and give a like, which is always something that matters and is totally free. And if you see the movie, let me know what you think. See you in the next video. Bye.